All right, today we're gonna react to another Denmo video. I did a reaction video before, about a week and a half ago, and I felt like I left some things unsaid, so we'll see what he's talking about here. One of the things that I mentioned was if you're not asking out 300 women by the time you're 25 as a man, then you're not trying, and that's absolutely true, but there's a way to do it. And I've seen videos by similar channels to Denmo and really weird ones like incel videos. One where this guy's just going around with the camera pointing it at these women and really creepily like asking them out, like not trying to strike up a conversation, not try to like connect with them at all, not trying to build any kind of like rapport, just flat out, hey, can I get your number? Immediately to the girl next to her, hey, can I get your number? And it's like, that's not how you approach somebody. That's clearly going to fail each and every time. That's creepy, and that's how some of these guys end up getting like the cops called on them or whatever. It's like you can't just weirdly interject yourself in such an aggressive way. That will never work.
Dude, stop being such a creep. Oh my god. All right, guys, today I'm going to teach you how to stop being creepy around girls. I've approached thousands of girls in real life, and I've gone on many dates, had many relationships, many amazing experiences with women, way more than all the idiots in the comment section on videos on the internet that make it seem like if you talk to girls in real life, you're a creep or a weirdo. Stop being such losers, get off the internet, and go out into the real world, okay?
Yeah, he's making the point I just made is that a lot of these guys who would complain about that are just the absolute lunatics who would like stalk a woman for like 3 months, keep keep showing up to her workplace where when you have no business there, and then really in a really forced and uncomfortable way ask them out, and maybe continue to stalk them and then ask them out again a couple months later. That's the point when the police get called on you. Like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing at all whatsoever. So these guys who like in this like incel community kind of spread that amongst the ranks, and it's ridiculous because just making pleasant the way you should be approaching somebody is just making pleasant conversation with whoever you happen to run into in your day-to-day life, and then maybe you ask them out, maybe you don't, right? And that's like way less pressure, way less intense. So yeah, you could ask out thousands of women face to face and never have any kind of issue. In fact, like that would be the norm. That's what normal is. I mean, thousands is would be a lot. That'd be kind of crazy, but it would be very easy for the huge majority of men.
Where real people talk to one another. Anyways, though, I do understand that a lot of guys have self-esteem issues, they have confidence issues, anxiety issues with approaching and talking to women in real life. And many women have issues with guys approaching them because guys are being creepy, they're being weird, and they're doing things that make women feel uncomfortable. Uncomfortable as in like, wow, I wish that guy didn't talk to me. That was unpleasant. But uncomfortable in the sense that they're being rude, they're being mean, they're making women feel unsafe, and just creeped out and weirded out. And now I have a cat. All right.
Yeah, that's a lot of these men don't realize that that's what they're doing, that they're making women uncomfortable. And that's like the core issue here, right? Like, until you can get that under control, you should not be asking anybody out ever. If you can't realize somebody's like body language and how they might interpret the way you're approaching them, then you're never gonna make any kind of meaningful connection with anybody, because you have to kind of like understand their perspective. I understand for a lot of these guys with these issues, that's not very easy, and it's somewhat impossible for some of them, right? Like, a lot of these guys who really struggle with finding women is they have social issues and they can't really help it. But I mean, there has to be a way that they can. There has to be a method that they can use. Um, Obviously, it's a way bigger struggle, so I can see why a lot of guys give up. But you kind of can't give up. It's not really an option.
All right, guys. First of all, we're going to
unless
address the
that's what you
concept
really
of creepy.
want.
Girls
Just to
find
never
XYZ
be,
creepy.
never
One
date
of the things
anybody
that is
or
so true
have
is
a
that
connection.
the more attractive you are, the less creepy you are. So if I go and approach a girl and I'm a tall, handsome, charismatic guy, then all of a sudden it's not creepy. But if I'm not a tall, handsome, charismatic guy, then there's a much more likelihood.
And there's actually a really good show called Rehearsal. It's by Nathan Fielder, and he takes these people and just does rehearsals for like kind of everyday situations. They're like something that they're a little anxious about that they're preparing for. Well, the one guy wanted to say that I think it was that he like cheated on a trivia game or something, and he takes this guy and rehearses the guy telling his friend about it. I think that's what it was. Something that would be like really simple, but the guy was super nervous about just like coming clean about something that he did, and he rehearsed it with this Nathan guy again and again. And I think, I mean, obviously that's something really tiny. It comes across as being really tiny, but to that guy, it's really big. And that's kind of the same thing with this approaching women for a lot of men. It is a very tiny thing, but they make it big and big. And that anxiety within them grows and grows, and it makes it just harder for them to progress. So what needs to be done is for them individually to find a way to make it easy. And I think something like rehearsing, like practicing doesn't have to mean you go out and ask out a bunch of people. It could mean you literally do a run through with like one of your buddies, be like, all right, I'm gonna do this and this. Or you simply watch videos of people doing a similar thing. It's so much as just somebody like vlogging their day, going around with the camera, and they just happen to run into somebody in public and talk and try to understand the tiny details of why that discussion that they have with a stranger in public, why that might be good or why that might be a bad interaction, because there's very key points there. And a lot of a lot of these like weird pickup artist guys, it's like they're running through a script in their head. Like they know what they're going to say, so they keep saying the same thing to different women. I've never done that. That's not my style at all, but that would be a super helpful tool to these guys who are like really awkward and really struggle. Just play a character, right? Like just know what you're going to say and have something that you're going to say in your head for like almost any possible response. Like, all right, if I say this and she laughs at it, then I'm going to say this. If she has a negative response, I'm probably going to say this and then walk away. Or like if she's kind of neutral, right? Because a lot of times you don't know the person, they don't know your vibe. They're picking up your vibe when you're interacting with them. So they're going to have kind of a neutral response. But like if there's all these different responses somebody can have, you got to kind of like categorize it in your head and think about like, is this conversation done? Is it going well? And like, do me and the other person really want this conversation to continue? Or is it kind of like a neutral thing where it's like this conversation's very like slow paced, but maybe we'll both get more into this conversation as it goes, and you kind of have to have like, I don't know how to explain it other than like having a personality, having things that you can talk about without it coming across as super forced, like things that you're into, things that other people are into, something that happened recently. Give the other person a reason to connect to you, because the only thing they have to go on from like an initial interaction is what you're saying, right? Like the information you're giving them and the vibe you're giving off. Those are like two very important things, right? Like it's not just about as much as like the vibe you give off, the energy you're giving off is super important. The the information, what you're saying is also just as important, and they kind of complement each other, right? Like a lot of these guys, they're like, oh well, I guess I just give off this like loser vibe. And like, yeah, maybe you do, but it's also the fact that you haven't prepared what you're going to say. Like, yeah, you could give off a loser vibe and have like great conversation skills and be saying totally reasonable stuff. Maybe not all the right things, but mostly the right things. So you have to at least have that. You have to at least be saying the right things, and that will help you to gain that confidence and be give it'll help you give off positive fun vibes if you kind of already know what you might say or what you're going to say. It doesn't have to be an exact script, right? If you think about like acting, right? Think about literally when an actor is reading from a script, they're acting out a scene. They ad lib all the time, meaning they don't say exactly what's on the script. They add a little bit of their own flavor. They change up the words, right? So it's not like you have to memorize this like page long script. It's that you have like basic conversation points and you let it flow out naturally in the way you already naturally talk.
That it's creepy. Women don't want guys to be nice or give them attention. They want the right guys to be nice and give them attention. And a big misconception that guys have is that they have to be tall, handsome, charismatic. That's not entirely true. There are so many guys that are short, weird looking, funny looking. They have girlfriends. They have successful approaches on women. They have a
Oh yeah, that's absolutely true. I remember going to college with this guy. Um, he was short and like not super attractive, but he kind of dressed similarly to how I do, where I wear a lot of like hoodies and like comfortable clothing. He had the similar like style to me, but he he made the best of it, right? Like he just was super outgoing and charming, and he I he didn't struggle with this stuff at all, and I had gotten the impression that how the reason why he didn't struggle with this at all is because at he got good at it. Like he put in effort to be like to be that outgoing fun guy. Like you would just talk to him, first conversation you have with him, you know, this guy likes to joke around, likes to have fun, really nice guy. And then every interaction that I've ever had with him, right? Because like he was in my class and stuff, so not only did I interact with him, but I seen him interact with so many other people, and every time I'm like, this guy's giving off this fun, charming vibe. So it's more about that, right? Like, yeah, maybe you're short, maybe you're bald, maybe you're fat, but that's you. There are men out there all the time, and who are broke, who have some kind of health condition. You could have all of these. There's guys who have like all of those issues and still end up with a smoking hot girlfriend, right? Like you can overcome these things. It's about not letting those things define who you are and define how your attitude towards everything. Because if you just let that negativity direct every part of your life and you just exude that negativity, guess what? People are going to pick up on it, and they're going to pick up on it immediately, right? So it's better. You just can't be that way, and you got to like thrive with whatever hand you're dealt, right? Like think about the game poker. The game poker, you can win with the worst hand, right? You could have literally the worst cards out of everyone at the table and you win the hand. Life is exactly like that. We've all seen just just horribly disgusting guys, right? Like a huge, like no offense, but like a huge enormous elephant of a guy who's wearing like the most ill-fitting clothes imaginable. And he's got this like incredible woman with him, right? And I think a lot of these men too, like a lot of these incel types who use these excuses, they'll like ask out Instagram models or somebody who's attractive enough, like 9 or 10, that they know in real life, or a 7 or an 8, and they're exuding this like negative energy, this uncomfortableness, this awkwardness, this anxiety. Clearly, all of this energy that would make somebody uncomfortable, these guys who haven't developed these skills at all, who have put in zero effort to make themselves attractive to a woman in any kind of way, they go out, they ask out this beautiful, beautiful woman, and it doesn't go well. And they just use that as an excuse to give up. And it's like, well, why are you going for like the top shelf? Like, I'm sorry, but let's be serious here. If I go out and say, you know what, I'm gonna try to be a professional baseball player, right? Like, I really, you know, all of a sudden I get into baseball as an adult. I'm gonna see where this goes, right? And it's not something that I've honed my whole life. I've never played baseball, but all of a sudden I get into it, and I'm liking it. Maybe I want to get into baseball. If I go and I try out the uh, for the major leagues or the minor leagues or whatever the equivalent is internationally, guess what? I'm not gonna make it. You got to kind of this sounds awful. This sounds horrible, but I mean, you got to like I don't know, like maybe start with a beer league and then work your way up. Um, Again, that sounds awful and like I'm judgmental towards people, men and women there. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to make the point that like if you want a top woman and you've never been with like any woman, maybe you aren't really maybe your calibration's a little off.
Successful dating life. It's just harder than it is when you're tall and handsome. That's it. It's more challenging. And since most of you guys aren't willing to work hard or do anything in your life, that's your
Oh yeah, and I can't lie. As a tall guy, like it's easy. Like I say a lot of this stuff as a tall guy. For me, it's super easy. But I have issues, right? Like I'm not the best talker. Like I don't have the best voice. I've struggled with a lot of these things, right? Like I have anxiety issues. I for a long time I was pretty scared, pretty nervous to like approach a woman. I really was. But then I realized, you know what? I'm gonna go to college in the fall. So I've got this summer here where I don't have much going on. So I want to get good at approaching women, asking them out, getting their number. So you know what I did? Across the summer, I asked out 300 women. And guess what? I got a heck of a lot better, and that nervousness completely evaporated. By the end of that summer, it was gone. It was just gone. It just didn't exist anymore because I had experienced every possible, like not every possible interaction, but such a huge array of like possibilities that I'm like, all right, I feel like I've seen it all. Like this can't probably isn't going to go too wildly different from all of those times because each and every person is different. So, but there are like personality types and ways that interactions can go, and a lot of possible outcomes and crazy twists and turns, but there's not really that many, right? So it just prepare yourself, train yourself. And a key part is making yourself attractive to women. Yeah, maybe that kind of comes more natural to a guy like me who's like tall and smart and funny and all this stuff, but I can see crystal clear how even if I lacked my height, even if I was like a foot and a half shorter than what I am, how I would still do totally fine because guess what? I'm fun and I'm funny and I'm hardworking and I have all these like great qualities that really that people admire, that people, whether they're men, they're women, anybody admires, right? Make yourself admirable.
Escape. That's your easy way out. But getting back to the creepy thing, women find guys creepy that do certain things, say certain things. So let's look into what is creepy.
I'm going to end the video here and then pick it back up, do a part two,